I'm Jane. I'm the embodiment of darkness.
And I'm Sophia, bringer of dawn. Welcome to our emboldened and over the top Yule special.
Yay.
I wouldn't
Thank you.
necessarily say it's too over the top.
Definitely not over the top. But anyway, this is more of our shoestring budget podcast as it usually is. This is the Yule special. I don't think we've ever really done a particular special for Sabbath before. I don't think we have. So
Uh,
this
we've
is kind of,
we've
have
done
we?
like Samhain a little bit. We
A
always
little
mention
bit, yeah.
Samhain and like touch on it at that time of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, we did do kind of like a Samhain um, episode. But anyway, this is specifically about Yule. It's a little bit of a shorter format, a little bit of slightly different format because we're going to give a little bit of knowledge here. We're going to drop a little bit of knowledge, little bit of background on the history and traditions of Yule, where it comes from. I'm definitely one of those people who are on my Facebook every so often reposting things that say like, you know, Christmas traditions are pagan in origin. Get the fuck over it, you know. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that, and then we're just gonna talk about just Yule in general and what we do in the spirit of the season, and it's gonna be a good time. Um, I will say, a little disclaimer here. I'm recovering from a cold, so I'm so sorry about how I sound right now, but I'm just gonna push through and
And
try
I
not to cough all the time.
and I'm strung out at the end of a work contract, working long hours, taking very little time off. So I am slightly delirious from sleep deprivation.
Excellent, which is a perfect mix for this type of discussion because Yule is all about the darkest, longest night of the year.
hmm
It is the point in time when um, it's the longest night. So we have the most darkness, and in particular in the Scandinavian regions where a lot of these Yule traditions come from, um, it was extra dark because they're so much farther north. So, I mean, you're almost talking about almost darkness all day. Uh,
I do believe these are the people who invented black metal as well.
yes, yes, they are, and for a very good reason. Um, so yeah, so a lot of these traditions for Yule come from the Scandinavian region, and I kind of just want to go over a lot of the things that we see that are associated with the holiday or the Sabbath, however you want to call it. So, usually the colors that you're seeing are red, white, and green. Um, Usually that pertains to like the red of the holly berries, white of snow, green of evergreen trees, and other sorts of herbs and bushes and things like that. The three main, or I should say, like the four main herb type tree things that you kind of see associated with Yule are holly, ivy, mistletoe, and of course the Yule tree, or I guess as it's more commonly referred to as the Christmas tree. Um, so holly is an evergreen, and I actually have a. I don't often have a personal relationship with um, trees or herbs or whatever the case is. I'm not saying holly's an herb, but you know what I mean. Like of trees. I usually don't have a personal relationship with plants in general,
I
but
was
with
gonna
holly,
say
I
you're not
do.
really. I was gonna say you don't really seem like a plant person to me.
No, I'm really not a plant person. But at my old job, there was a holly tree right outside of it, and I always loved looking at it, especially when like the berries would be there, and I was like, this is just a really cool looking tree. And I had no idea it was a holly tree the whole time that I worked there because again, I'm not very plant kind of inclined.
Yeah.
So the one day there was this really nice sized branch had fallen from the tree onto the ground, and it had all the leaves and the berries, and it was just so vibrant and just gorgeous. So I took it into my office, and then I took it home, and I I picked all the berries off and picked all the leaves off and stored them in jars. I'm like, I feel like I could use this for something. It was just very much like I feel like the tree kind of gave it to me, and I researched what it was. Actually, I don't know if you remember, I was at work. It was probably like close to a year ago, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
And I was texting all you guys in a group chat, and I was like, "What is this? Is this holly? Like, what is this?" So, I still have a twig of holly that I use as a wand sometimes, and I've had a really good relationship with that particular plant. So this particular time of year kind of makes me I feel pretty jazzed about this time of year, especially with my relationship with holly. Um, Ivy is another one. Ivy is generally associated with more feminine qualities, and some of the folklore behind Ivy um, is that there was a dancer. There was a woman who was dancing for Dionysus. Is that how you pronounce his name? Dionysus. Dionysus.
Hold
In
up.
mm,
Trump just got impeached.
what?
Trump just got impeached.
Trump just got impeached?
Holy fuck. Actually,
I mean, like, that doesn't mean he's out, but
but that's huge.
Trump has been impeached. What the fuck?
Oh my god, it's a Yule miracle!
Oh my god.
Motherfuck, yes!
Really? For reals right now?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I'm leaving this in the episode, by the way.
Jesus, motherfuck! Sorry. I'm gonna be right back.
Oh. Trump impeached by the House for abuse of power, obstruction of Congress.
Yeah, that's what they brought him up with. But look for, I think it still has to go through the Senate before.
Yeah, so
Oh my
the
god.
third time to impeach a sitting president.
I'm very emotional right now. In a good way.
Holy shit.
Holy fuck. Merry fucking Yule, everybody.
For real. Because honestly, I can't imagine anyone who listens to this podcast that supports Trump, and if you do, I mean, like, sorry, not sorry.
The door. There's the door.
Yeah, there's the door, honestly.
Don't let it hit you on the way out, but I hope it does.
Yeah. This is nuts.
I'm... Okay. Let's compose ourselves.
I'm trying to get to the end of the article. I don't know what the next step is in this process. Yeah, it does have to go through the Senate now.
It does go to the Senate.
So it's like so it'll be an actual like trial.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh man. Wow. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, but at least we can have some justice in the world if he gets the fuck out of office. Okay. I forget what the fuck we were talking about. So Ivy is associated with more feminine qualities. One of the folklore behind it that I found is that there's actually a Greek word that they used for ivy, and I think it was like Dissus or something like that. And it comes from this myth or this story that there's this woman that was dancing for Dionysus, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he was so moved by how beautiful she was and how well she was dancing that he turned her into ivy. Yeah. I thought that was a neat little thing that I found. Here's the funny thing that I keep finding. So mistletoe is obviously associated with this time of year, and it has the most information that I keep finding, because generally what we all know of mistletoe is, if there's mistletoe above you and if you're standing under it and someone else is, you're supposed to kiss. What I didn't actually realize about Yule is that it's actually a huge time for fertility magic, which I wouldn't think, because like, yeah, it's a solar festival, and like it's a solar festival, and but it's also like in the winter, so I didn't really think that fertility would be kind of on the table. But then I kind of
Yeah.
thought about it again, and I was like, I mean, well, it's winter, and you can't really work in the fields anymore, so what else are you doing other
Hmm.
than, like, making babies? So,
So, as a Virgo, I will have you know that the gestation period is very close to around how long we take to pop out of the womb. It's like about 8 months. So, yeah, it's 8 to 9 months, and makes sense. Like I was made in the cold time of the year, you know?
well, that makes sense. There you go.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, and Valentine's Day makes Scorpios.
no, I'm just kidding. No shade at Scorpios.
Hey,
It's
my
fine.
girlfriend's a Scorpio,
My
actually.
parents are actually both Scorpios. I don't know how they're still married. Yeah, so
I get
mistletoe, it's
along with
actually,
Scorpios.
yeah, no shade at the Scorpios. All love for all signs. Unless you piss me off. Anyway, uh, so yeah, so you kiss under the mistletoe, and that's supposed to be good for fertility magic. There's a couple other folklore things with mistletoe. Something like a man should put the berry, should take a mistletoe berry and put it in his pocket and carry it around and try and kiss other people, which I really thought was kind of creepy. Um,
Yeah,
it just really made me uncomfortable. So,
that's
which
bad
really,
consent.
yeah, it was just like kind of weird, and also just very, I guess, heteronormative because a lot of this is coming from a place centered of penis plus vagina equals baby. They weren't really thinking about love. Kind of just you know repopulating the world. Anyway, so it kind of got me down a path of thinking about how the concept of fertility applies to queer people and queer couples, and how this could kind of be worked into some Yule magic. And I don't think fertility just has to be limited to like babies, like creating human life. I think like if you could do fertility magic, like say you had a pet that you were trying to breed, or whatever the case is, like doing fertility magic at this time would be a cool thing for that. Or also fertility in the sense of like you're trying to create something new in your life, like you're trying
Yeah,
to give birth to something new, or
I
plant
was
the seeds of a new project.
I was gonna say that fertility has many usages, and in fact, one of the most common is fertile soil.
Hmm.
Um, so it usually means receptivity to something being gestated. It doesn't necessarily have to be egg, sperm, baby. You know, there's so many
Right.
different types of fertility. There's spiritual fertility even, you know?
Exactly. So I was just kind of a lot of times when you encounter things in spell books and theory books and folklore and stuff like that, it does come from a very heteronormative background. But just keep in mind that the term fertility still applies to you. It still applies to your life and your experience, even if you're not in a relationship that can produce human life. It's not just about that.
Yeah.
And another thing that I found was interesting about mistletoe, it was hung up to protect from witchcraft,
I mean, when
which I
it's
think
cold
was more
out,
of when the Christians came in
I
the
was
mix.
I was just thinking like when it's cold out and you're a witch living in the woods, sometimes you gotta curse a couple peasants, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, it's just so
Cast that
funny
evil
that
away.
we practice witchcraft, and yet there's like all these guards or protections from witchcraft. So
Well,
I just think it's funny.
I'll
But
tell
it's
you
just
this
it's so
though.
general the way people write it, you know?
Yeah. I will say this though. the people who probably need more protections from witches are honestly witches, because
Yeah,
we
because we
interact with each other
attract.
so much more, and we have fucking spats and fights and wars, and it's ridiculous. And I think it's very relevant to have to understand how to protect yourself from other witches if you're a witch. You know,
Oh yes, 100%.
it just
I
seems
just
so
thought
odd
it's
taken out of context.
Yeah, it does seem weird, doesn't it? It's like witches protecting themselves from witches, which makes sense, but it's also like I think it's the way these people write it in these history folklore articles. They just put it as like a very blanket statement, like, "Oh, it's to protect from witchcraft."
I also would like to state that there's like this weird kind of mythologized idea about witches in like media where like we all kind of get along and we're all kind of like homogeneously on each other's side of like the wickedness and the devil, like
Yeah,
we're kind of all in the same coven, bro. We're in it together. It's like they have no idea how petty and divided we can be.
there's a lot of witch v witch crime out there.
Oh, fuck, is there ever? But
Um,
yeah, but yeah.
and I think this is still true today. I gotta really check the source on this, but apparently a lot of churches still ban mistletoe from inside the church because of its pagan associations.
I mean, they stole the fucking holiday from pagans, and then you're gonna
Right.
bitch that you have some mistletoe in the place, and
I
then you
I
put
know.
wreaths on your doors too. Like, get
Yeah.
the fuck off yourself, bud.
Like pick one.
And you're behind an altar too while you're doing your sermon with your clean white cloth, representing
Exactly.
like a clean state ready to receive information. Like your entire mass, as you want to call it, it's ritualized context, but then you want to
Right.
bitch about a plant. Like, holy fuck.
Right. Like hold the
That's
mistletoe.
hold the mistletoe. We'll take every other aspect of your culture, but that plant's like the step too far. Now hold
I'm
on here
down.
while we burn some incense and sling some holy water on you.
For real. But it's not witchcraft. Um and then of course there's the tree, decorating a tree, bringing a tree into your house. I actually, from a couple sources that I was looking at, this was actually a German tradition that was
Oh,
adapted over time. So that's
I
kind of
f-
interesting.
I feel so bad about this tradition, which is why I never partake in it. Cause like I can't condone killing a tree just so that I can decorate it.
I feel the same way. And you know what? I came across this article the other day and it fucked me up because so my family has always had an artificial tree. We've had this tree for like 20 years. And it looks great. It looks like it looks pretty real. And so we've taken care of it and, we're still using the tree 20 years later. Um I didn't put it up this year because I just didn't have time to decorate or whatnot. But anyway, so we still have this tree. And then I read this article about artificial trees and how they're actually worse for the environment because most people keep an artificial tree for 5 to 7 years
Yeah.
and then they throw it away. And it ends up in a landfill and they're all made out of plastic. They're not made out of biodegradable material. And so that artificial Christmas tree is just sitting in a landfill for the next 10,000 fucking years, however long it takes for plastic to degrade.
Why
Uh,
why do they throw away the plastic tree? I don't understand because I don't even get a tree to begin with.
I don't know, like maybe people just like, oh, we want a bigger tree, we want a prettier tree. Maybe some of them like break, but I don't know. My family has had this artificial tree for like 20 fucking years and it's fine. We've had no problems with it. So I don't know why you can't just buy one tree and keep it forever, you
It's
know?
like I understand the environmental impact, and like it's just certain traditions are so unsustainable under late state capitalism, right? Like, to my
Right.
understanding, an old tradition of a Yule tree, you would use the wood after. There's
Hmm.
nobody in the old world who would take the time to cut down a tree and bring it into the village and then just throw it away.
Right.
That tree was honored and venerated in its time before it was used. It wasn't
Hmm.
like its purpose was to be killed and then just thrown away. You know, that
Right.
seems
It
so
was used.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Even if you use it for firewood, at least it's providing you sustenance, you know?
Yeah.
Like
I
there's
never
there's
understood
there's
it either.
need behind that. There's use behind that. And that's the thing for me why I don't participate in a lot of these traditions, because they're so far removed from their roots that like there can be so much underlying damage that we do under this like drive for a sense of tradition,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when
Yeah.
like we can create our own traditions still, you know. You
Yeah.
don't
And
necessarily have to have a Yule tree and all those decorations that get thrown out.
mm-hmm. And the article then kind of went on to say, like, so if you went out every year, you see them all over the place, like the people selling Christmas trees. They come from farms that are just Christmas trees. And so people grow Christmas trees on these farms to cut them down and sell them every year. This is what happens. Um, the article was saying that that's actually more sustainable because, when you throw out the real tree, it will biodegrade. And I was like, okay, yeah, I see the point that
Also,
you're making, right? Like I
also
see the
in the
point.
oh sorry, go ahead.
No, I was like, I see the point that you're making that, okay, yeah, real tree will real tree will biodegrade, fake tree won't. But I was like, why are we cutting down the fucking trees in the first place? Why do we have
Yeah,
Christmas tree fucking farms? Like, this is just, we need to stop with this
capitalism.
tree bullshit.
Capitalism, okay, look, I'm gonna give a little dark side to the holidays here. I have worked in like manufacturing and warehouses and shipping for a good deal of my life now. And I understand that a lot of these companies rely on the holiday season to simply even exist because of the sheer amount of money they pull out of the system. What we have now is the holidays is massively removed from its roots because it's become monetized. It's not necessarily that some money can be a bad thing, because like a little bit of money can really improve certain things. Like
Hmm.
look at what it does for infrastructure. But
Hmm.
it's not about having the traditions anymore. Like if you look at what a Christmas tree means, to most people, it's a symbol of Christmas with a nuclear family. You know,
Hmm.
the idea of sustained normality where you have your family unit, you have your tree, X amount of kids, probably an animal who fucks with it more than you would appreciate, and
Uh-huh.
you enact this thing that brings you fond memories of when it happened for you as a child. And you learn to relive it by observing somebody else partake in it who's young. And I
Hmm.
understand that part, the core of having something that you fondly treasure that you want to pass on to someone. That's so wonderful. But all the extraneous stuff, you know, all of like the having to have the right gifts, the expectations, the pressure, the debt people put themselves into, that that is not the same thing, you know?
No,
And it's
not at
it's
all.
weird that we've gotten to this place.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this holiday season feels really stressful to me. Like, I get paid on the 20th,
Hmm.
Friday, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta buy for this person, that person, and I have to because I'm sucked into this family bullshit. I'm sucked into this work bullshit. Like, I'm
Yep.
sucked into it. And I can't, and if I don't get anyone something, then I'm an asshole and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I want out. Like, I want to bounce out of this machine, of this particular Christmas, Yule, I don't know, holiday season, bananas. Um, I mean, it's like you were saying with the tree. Like, yes, I do have fond memories of my family's Christmas tree. It looks really pretty when we decorate it. It was always nice as a kid to have those presents underneath of it. We're like, oh, that's cool. And I still think that Christmas trees look very pretty when they're decorated. But I just, like, I don't know, just if you feel the need to have a Christmas tree, if that's what you want to do, just buy a artificial tree and hold on to it forever because they're fine. Like they hold up fine. Like I don't see what the big deal is. Like why are you throwing out your tree every 5 years? Because you want a new
And
pretty one? Keep the same damn
yeah.
tree if you must.
And if you're done with it, give it to somebody who would appreciate it.
Exactly. Like there are some families who can't afford a Christmas tree, real or fake. So
Yeah.
then donate it, you know?
hmm Um,
Um,
were there other parts of Yule tradition that you could talk about?
yeah, there's a couple other things on here.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's just a couple other things. So a lot of times with and the another big symbol of Yule is the Yule log, which is traditionally oak, and the purpose of it was for it to burn, and it was to help to draw the sun's power back to the earth. So these ancient cultures, like they saw that the sun was gone for a huge chunk of the day, and so they would burn this Yule log to bring it back to give the sun the energy to come back. That was the whole point of the Yule log. And just a couple other things. So the Yule lads, ghosts and spooky stories, kind of monstery things. You find this a lot in Yule folklore if you really start to dig into it, especially in Germanic society. This was a scary time of year for kids. like they Like it was like, if you aren't good, if you're not a good kid, you're gonna get like eaten by this cat monster, or you're gonna get taken away by these trolls, and
Gonna get Krampus.
yeah, you're gonna get Krampus. And I don't want to get in like this isn't a lecture about all the different folklore of Yuletide monsters, but I thought that was an interesting spin on it because, like me as a kid, it was just like, oh, you better be good or Santa's not going to bring you the gifts you want. But like, could you imagine like growing up, like, you better be good or you're going to get like taken away in your sleep and you're never going to come back again.
Jesus Christ. That's that's kind of fucked up to tell kids.
Right, it's fucked up. And I'm like, damn, like they're for real though. And I'm pretty sure that in modern German society, I'm pretty sure that's still like part of their folklore. In
Huh.
Germanic society. I'm pretty sure that's like it's still there. It's still very much ingrained in their modern day folklore, which I thought was really fucking cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I know that.
and then in a lot of Wiccan traditions, you do find that there is this imagery of the horned god, and the horned god is a dual god, and so for half the year he is the Oak King, and for the other half of the year he is the Holly King, and at the winter solstice is when they clash. So the Oak King, goes to the side, and the Holly King rules the dark half of the year. So there's that, but I think that's I'm not sure how much that's rooted in how far back that folklore goes. I don't know if that's like a modern revival of an old tale. I would have to do more research on that. But you do find that a
From my
lot.
understanding, it's pretty old.
It's,
I'm
it's
not too
Celtic.
familiar. Yeah, I was gonna say I know it's Celtic, but I'm not too familiar with how old it is. But even me, far removed from that mythos, knew exactly about the Oak King and the Holly King. You know?
hmm So yeah, so then I would have to do more research on that. But yeah, I mean, take any of these kind of points and research them on your own. And if you find anything cool, definitely share it with us for sure. Um, And I think that's kind of it for like the main thing. The last thing, and I think this will help you transition into what you wanted to talk about, Sophia, is that the Yuletide season was a time for a party. Um, it
Ah,
was a huge celebration. A lot of people were bored in the winter months, in addition to, being nervous about the next harvest and would they have enough food to get through winter. Um, so they would celebrate and drink and feast and give presents. They would leave food out for the spirits, and they would raise energy for these spirits to help them get through the winter and encourage abundance in the coming growing season. So yeah, I mean, it was a time to prepare for the next harvest, but also blow off some steam.
Mhm. Yeah. You know, and it's ironic that you use the word transition to what I was gonna say, because this is actually the time of year that I came out, and I'm
Mm,
5 years pretty much right around the time that this airs.
mm,
Yeah. Um, but I was gonna talk about the more ephemeral aspects of the season. I was gonna talk about like the spirit of Yule and the holidays, because
mm.
I was mentioning before how far removed we are from what it originally was, and there's so much I can say on this. To begin with, like, let's start with what Jay was just talking about with the feasting,
Mhm.
right? Like, when it comes to winter, you have to space out the amount of food that you have saved over the course of the year, right? You
Mhm.
need to ration it. And on the darkest day of the year, it's kind of like a celebratory point, because you know that after this point, it always gets lighter. Like, I was literally having a friend today say to me, "Oh, isn't it great that after Saturday, every fucking day is going to be longer?" And it's true. It's really a point to celebrate because you're halfway through the dark. And
Especially for people that suffer from seasonal depression.
yes,
It's a great time for them to really be like, hey, it's gonna get better. We're
and
just
it's
hanging.
a way. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, they can just be like, hey, I just gotta hang in. Like every day is gonna get a
Yeah.
little bit longer, so it's a good thing to focus on if you suffer from that.
And like, it's, if you think about it, it's the darkest day of the year. There's a lot of reason to despair. You're in the thick of it, right? And it's just such a counter to that norm to celebrate that day. You don't let it be something that tears you down, you know? You acknowledge that it's the darkest day of the year, but you know from that point it can only get better, right? And it, like, there's so much moral fiber to the holiday, right? If you actually look at what it was about togetherness and being with people. Giving gifts wasn't like something that you had to do. It was something that you did with your time. Like, maybe in the winter season, you crafted something to stay busy. Maybe you wrote letters to people who you really cared about. And taking that time to acknowledge the people in your lives or make something for someone you cared about, it really pulls us together. And I think if there's anything that I've learned over my life, it's that what gets us through all of the hard times is each other. You know, no matter how much we struggle, no matter how much we fight, we're in it together. And being able to share that with each other, it's wonderful. And like, my girlfriend and I, we don't have a lot of money this Christmas, so we're like literally just going to be writing each other love letters for Christmas, and that's wonderful. You know, I couldn't want something more from her, and that's kind of the holiday spirit that it was at its core. You know, you have the log to burn, sure, but it's to keep everyone warm together. You decorate the tree with others, and like, it brings people to a space where we're all, we kind of share our humanity with each other, you know, and
Yeah.
to like make it about having to buy someone stuff, to be pressured. It's it's the polar opposite now of what it originally was, and it's a
Yeah,
little bit
it just became
sad.
more work.
Yeah, to me, what it means to celebrate Yule versus celebrating Christmas is, I don't do the holiday that wears me down. I don't let myself get into the obligations of needing to spend $1,000 to make people happy. I spend my time with the people who I love, and I show them that I care about them, and that's it. And I feel so much better. I'm not spending money I don't have. I'm like taking time to actually do what makes me happy. And if anything, in that space, I have room to go back to old traditions. Maybe I don't want a decorated tree because I don't want to cut one down or add to the waste, but it wouldn't hurt to burn a Yule log out somewhere safely, right? And there's a lot of things that I can do to reconnect with like the spirit of the holiday because it was about charity. It was about like I mean, I feel like I'm kind of gonna round my circle in that on a little bit because it's kind of all the same point, you know? Like, you've all seen those movies, The Power of Christmas and the holiday spirit. They all get back to that sense of charity, and freely giving and understanding and being kind. And then it kind of falls short in actuality, you know, because they try and
Yeah.
sell you your happiness when our happiness comes from
Right.
each other.
Actually, a really touching kind of thing happened at work today. So it really showed like the difference between how people view the holiday season. So we had our work holiday party or whatever, and it was just crap. It was like a sandwich tray, and then they like made us bring like sides and stuff like that. And I'm like, what kind of company is this? Like they make you bring half the lunch that they're giving you? Like that's shitty, especially
Wow.
when you know they can afford it. So I just kind of like popped in and I was like, oh, this looks like shit. And then I just kind of like went back downstairs. And so and that's coming from, a company that has money and has resources to like provide something very nice for its employees. And then when I went back downstairs, my coworker she had called, I think like a public school or something like that, and she was calling and she was asking if there were any kids that weren't getting lunch because they owed money like on their like for their lunch money. And that happens a lot in especially in public schools. Like if you owe like a balance for your lunch bill, um you can't get lunch. And a lot of those kids who do get lunch from those schools, like they come from families that, well, they need that lunch from that school, because they
Yeah.
don't have it at home. And I was just like, wow, what an interesting contrast. Like she's taking, like she's just an employee, she doesn't make too much more than I do. Um, and she's like calling schools and saying like, hey, does anyone need help? Stuff like that. And I just was really touched by that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'll never see the employer doing that, that's for sure.
No, no. Like the employer could, probably hemmed and hawed about, pitching in for a sandwich tray.
Yeah, but good on them. Yeah. I
Hmm.
also kind of feel like we need to do an episode eventually that's like capitalism and witchcraft, like the antitheses of each other. I don't know, antithesis isn't the word, but
Yeah,
like
almost like well, yeah, I
I
mean,
feel
because
like
really, I mean, witchcraft and capitalism are two totally different things, and yet
mm,
the way our society is, it's like witchcraft and capitalism are the antithesis of each other. They
yes,
represent two completely different concepts. And yet, as witches, we have to learn how to navigate within capitalism in
for
order to
now,
survive. Yeah,
until the proletariat uprise.
yeah. Until the revolution.
Just saying, I'm a seditious snake, and I know
Until we take over the world. What?
it. I mean, more like well, whatever. Let's save that for another episode.
That could be like an After Dark episode where we just like spout out world domination fucking theories and
No, no,
yes,
because
yes.
I'm not one for world domination. In fact, I think I'm quite the
Actually, I
opposite.
shouldn't
I'm one for
say
world
world
liberation.
domination. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe not world domination, maybe world liberation instead of
Now
world.
that's even more of a dangerous topic than the former. And you should ask yourself why world liberation is more controversial to say than world domination.
Mic drop.
Please don't make drop me.
We should have an episode, like a live stream kind of thing, where we just like drink or whatever your relaxation thing of choice is, and have like the viewers just ask us a bunch of weird fucking questions.
I mean, I
That would
can
be
smoke
cool.
and drink.
Yeah, because I know some people prefer to smoke, some people prefer to drink, whatever the case is. That would be fun. Um, is there anything else that we kind of wanted to talk about in terms of the Yule season and spirit? I think we kind of, because we touched on the folklore and stuff like that, like the factual stuff, and I think
Yeah.
I just wanted to provide that knowledge in case someone didn't have it. But also, I think we both kind of agree on, like, the spirit of the season is to celebrate and be
Yeah.
happy and charitable and not drown in debt and rage. See, I mean, honestly, I think we could kind of wrap up this little Yule special that we're kind of doing. I hope you all enjoyed it. Maybe it was a little bit of a mess. I wish Scott was here to do some of this folklore stuff because that's really their wheelhouse. But
Yeah.
Scott couldn't be with us for this recording today, unfortunately. So hopefully for the next Sabbath special, they will be, and you can get the well-crafted, juicy story folklore that you all so truly deserve. But for now, we are going to sign off.
And don't
Yes.
forget to banish.
Yes, don't forget to banish. And I will not forget to edit this episode so it actually comes out on Yule. So happy solstice, everyone. We will see this. We will see this. We will see you all in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm ready. Let's fucking hammer time this.
Alrighty. Hey everyone, happy solstice.
Hello. Happy holidays. I'm not sure. I guess. Yeah, they're the holidays. I'm sorry. Do you want to do that again?
Yeah.
Okay, I was thrown off because I wasn't expecting you to lead with that. Okay.
I know, it really threw you off, and I was just like, happy solstice, and you're like, I'm lost in the sauce.
You should totally put this in the after edits. Oh god. Alright.
Hey everyone, happy solstice.
I'm Sophia.
Wow. That was weird.
What?
It didn't flow. It wasn't good. We changed the format and now everything's fucked.
What am I supposed to follow with?
I don't know.
Okay, so you're gonna say happy solstice. Merry dark time. I don't know what the fuck I can follow up with.
Oh, okay. Alright, here we go. Ready?
No, but let's try it.
Fuck.
You got
Hey everyone, happy... Oh, fuck. Hey everyone, happy Darkness Day. It's the longest night of the year.
What if we just like leave this all in and don't edit anything out, and we're just like
No, okay, ready? It's gonna be
idiots.
this. It's gonna be
first 5 minutes.
darkness, darkness. That's how I'm gonna open it.
Okay, go.
And then you got something to follow up with.
Return of light. Return of light.